This episode of the Auto Tech Show is sponsored by Zebra Technologies, connecting you with the edge, where the future is boundless. Hello and welcome everyone to the Auto Tech Show. My name is Mark Babin, and you're joining us for the start of a very special series, all of which are coming to you on site here in the UK. Today, we're recording from the London offices of Zebra Technologies. A big thank you to them for having us and for being our partner on this series of episodes. We all know that AI has a huge potential in the automotive industry, but turning cutting-edge AI models into commercially viable solutions is a complex challenge. From predictive maintenance and quality control to AI-powered logistics and fleet management, many companies struggle to bridge the gap between innovation and real-world application. Now, in this episode, we explore the challenges of commercializing AI in automotive, the roadblocks that slow adoption, and the opportunities AI presents in reshaping the industry. Our guest for this show is Stuart Hubbard, the Senior Director, Artificial Intelligence and Advanced Development at Zebra Technologies. He's a leader in AI and advanced development and will provide insight into how AI can transition from research to reality and what automotive businesses must do to harness its full potential. Stuart, I have to say, first and foremost, thank you for having me in your office. Thank you for being part of this series and for your time today. I'm really looking forward to your insights. So again, thanks for being here.
No, thanks, Mark. Thanks for inviting me. Nice to be here.
Absolutely. I'm particularly interested in your insights, and we'll get into a few of the questions. As you've been in the industry a while, as this has sort of developed and all of this AI has become popularized, have you been surprised by how consumers and people are taking it on? Are you more or less, it was what you expected? Because AI has been a part of automotive for a long time, but underneath and maybe behind the curtain a little bit. But as it's sort of come to the front stage, are you surprised on how it's being adopted?
A bit surprised because I've been in AI for a long time, a lot of years, using traditional AI, so computer vision, machine learning. And then I think when ChatGPT came on the scene a couple of years ago, I think that did change the game. Because it changed the way people interacted with AI. So people have been interacting with AI from kind of buying off Amazon and recommendations and things like that, but they don't see it behind the scenes there. So when ChatGPT came in and you could ask it a question and it can tell you an answer, and I think AI then changed from it's a binary answer to now many right answers. So just that change in kind of perception of AI and how it kind of talked back to you was a game changer, I think. But I do kind of want to say the caution of, well, LLMs, large language models, ChatGPT is just the next step. There's going to be a lot more coming. So from World Models and Jan LeCun, and who's the chief scientist at Meta, about how the next models can understand physics, and you drop a ball and it kind of understands that gravity is going to work on it. So we're not finished on that journey yet. It's just going to get even more exciting.
So then let's start with that buzzword, AI. It's a huge holistic word, and it's like saying sustainability. It's becoming just a word, but there's a lot underneath it. It's been around the industry for years, as we just mentioned and we just touched on. Where is it actually having impact today? Where are you seeing AI be actually useful today in automotive?
So from that side, I think the machine vision on quality assurance, so fixed industrial cameras, looking at parts that are being created and making sure that they're the right quality. I think that's been around for some time. The AI models, deep learning models on there are only getting better. The industry's getting more mature. But then we're starting to see more productivity gains for people, predictive maintenance and things like that, that's kind of been there. So there's a lot of benefit, and I think manufacturing are kind of ahead of the game compared to other industries because they've been using it. They understand the benefits.
Do you feel like there's a lot of common misconceptions with it? I think we spoke about that. People assume what it does is what it does, but there's so much more happening in our lives, in vehicles, in manufacturing, in automotive, in everything. But why do companies, particularly in this industry, really struggle to commercialize and to bring it from an idea to real life? Why is there that gap in this industry in particular?
Because I do think it's a different way to bring it to market. So I think there's a big gap for senior leadership team to understand how to operational AI. I think people don't have the right understanding of, okay, well, let's start small. Let's have these KPIs and success criteria up front so we know what we're doing. And let's just take it one step at a time. Educate the kind of people that are using it because their behaviors and their processes are going to change rather than trying to go too big too quickly. So you've got to have the strategy and vision of where you want to get to, but let's start small. Let's get it in. Let's get the gains. Let's move on. So I've been in many projects where we go, oh, we've got a 2-year digital transformation project and we're going to change the entire factory. We're going to change the entire world. And it's not that the AI can't do it. It's just you need to bring people along with it. And that's where I see the problem because they don't look at how people's behaviors are going to change or the process are going to change. And they're trying to do too much too quickly. So, and so that's one side of it.
Yep.
And then the other side is legacy systems and data. So if you've got rubbish in, rubbish out, so you're going to get a bad answer or you're going to get bad output. So you've got to make sure that your data is clean, where you're going to use it, how it's going to be read by the AI, and then what's the output from it, and understanding the edge cases as well. So you can get 70% of the efficiencies, but you've got 30% that are edge cases, which will take a lot longer to kind of solve. But eventually over time, the model will get better, the improvements will be there, and the gains will be seen.
Will just come. Do you feel like those projects that do just maybe rush to get something out without building that substantial base or making sure people are coming along with it, do you see a lot of those projects fail or maybe fail to reach their potential because of that rush?
Yeah, I think from the rush point of view, you get two outcomes. One is it's not working, so I'm just going to put it on hold and do something else because there's a lot of different priorities.
There's no immediate good feeling, so they just move on.
Yeah, and then the other one is yes, it doesn't live up to potential because with a model, for example, you can have a base model that you can get to 60-70% quite quickly. But then when you're starting to add the finer details and fine tuning it will take a lot longer to get there. So the understanding of over time, you'll generalize this model to go into different environments. And that may take 2 or 3 different factories to get that environment there is what's going to happen. But if you haven't set that expectations at the start of the project, they go, oh, it didn't work in this first factory or this bit of a kind of solution. It's not going to work anywhere. And so that's where the education comes in.
A lot of the projects that I see and I talk to individuals about, everyone is excited to launch a pilot phase. Everyone is excited to, okay, let's bring this on, let's try it, let's see how it works. But from what I've seen, the percentage moving beyond a pilot phase is not very high. Is there a particular common challenge that you think they're facing? Are they just not getting the right people involved? Or the right doors not open? Are they not building the right base in that pilot? Why do we see this struggle to move beyond pilot?
Again, I think it comes down to expectations and education on that one. So I kind of look across different industries. So as you know, Zebra does different ones. But one example I do use is Apple on their iPhones actually stopped Meta tracking for an advertising point of view. And it says, right, you're not going to be able to put first person cookies on there. You're not going to track.
Right.
So that destroyed Meta's or Facebook's advertising model overnight. They go, okay, can't do that. So what did they do? They invested more in the AI and understanding behavior and the models and got them better. And now their revenues are through the roof. They've kind of embraced it completely. So if only every company was growing at the same rate as Meta and Facebook, that's kind of the solution you can get because AI is at scale, but down to the micro individual component level. And to get those trends built up over time, the rewards and the value is great. But I think AI, again, is a different beast to normal software solutions where you just kind of implement a SaaS system and you can see the rewards straight away. It takes a bit more time. Yeah. So that's where the education.
Realistic expectations and then being educated on how to do that, basically.
Correct.
That's an interesting example you brought up with Meta. because they were forced to make an adoption based on a regulatory change or based on some type of
external
compliance that came down. The topic of regulation is something I find quite interesting, because in speaking with tire manufacturers, I've spoken with a few who have said, we hate regulation but we need it. The industry needs it to advance. And I guess that's the same with legacy systems and massive data lakes that everyone's managing, and then all the compliance that has to be followed. What are your thoughts on regulation driving change? Is that something that you see as a really important case, or does it depend a little bit?
It depends, but the regulation I'm seeing at the moment is there's quite big differences. So you've got the EU and the UK AI Act, and then you've got the US trying to not regulate, and then you go across the US, different states are regulating differently. You've got the obviously GDPR in Europe as well, and how that's driving kind of some of the regulations, and then again in the US. So you kind of see the different kind of worlds there. But then you see kind of, well, how well is it the US doing with AI kind of companies and what they're gaining there? But then I'm from a European kind of background where actually, personally, I don't want my data to kind of be everywhere and everything. So you do have conflict there. So I do think it's a balance of kind of some regulation to protect people and kind of their data, but then not having too much regulation that AI can't grow and be this true value. So for me, I'm seeing the hyperscalers hyperspending, and they will win the war or win the battle, where the smaller companies are going to struggle unless we can kind of get open source models kind of, and the understanding that we can then fine tune on top of those. So for me, it's all about making sure that the playground is equal, because of the monopolies of the bigger kind of hyperscalers would just take the lunch and nobody else can compete. So it's a very difficult one, that one, but I do think there's a balance to have.
I've always found it interesting how AI can level a playing field, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think we see it. And again, I know just from my conversations with tire manufacturers, a lot of the giants don't have the same playbook that they used to, because a lot of these little or smaller companies that are coming up and lower producers, they're using AI more freely, more agile to be able to compete at a higher level. Creating that fair playing field, I think for sure has to be something done by regulation, and something has to be done by compliance laws. But what does it say to the little guy that wants to use AI more freely, whereas the larger companies maybe have a bit more silos and a bit more protection that they have to follow because they're at a higher risk? Do you feel like the market will find that right balance and create that level because of what AI can do?
I'd like to think it will find that right balance, but I still am worried about the hyperscalers kind of spending all that money and with their people in government and lobbying and driving it for their benefit. Because I actually worked at a lot of startups before for Zebra as well, and for us to be able to do more with less was a game changer. So we were really focused on how to optimize for smaller chipsets, so we can do things on device and kind of be very agile, as you say, so that we could compete with some of the bigger players in the market. I'd hope it does, but I do worry about kind of the lobbying and the bigger hyperscalers. And I know there's a lot of geopolitics going on at the moment that's going around. And
absolutely.
Do they break up Google? Do they break up Microsoft, AWS, all that sort of stuff? So it's going to be an interesting few years.
Do you think this regulation and all of this change affects how we convert? I mean, coming back to our primary topic, changes how we bring things from ideas to real life. Do you feel like it will leave that untouched and companies still have to manage their own challenges, or does regulation help or stifle that ability to transition to commercial?
I think in the industry for the automotive, I think it should be okay, because the regulation that I'm seeing is all about the risk profile of some of these AI models. And I think if you're in social media, if you're doing on behavior of and private citizens, I think that's where the risks go in. For kind of manufacturing, it's all about, well, okay, is that component right? Is a predictive maintenance kind of on track? Are you saving money with that? So I think if it stays in that risk profile where it's the business to consumer that's got the higher risk, and I think business to business and the value that we gain in there, I think we should be okay.
So really that's where it kind of should start in your opinion, and then see where it kind of goes from there. For companies planning out that long-term game then, are there particular things they need to be watching out for to be able to make sure that they can scale that solution beyond the pilot, beyond just a small test with the B2B going B2C as well?
It's so when they're doing their strategy and vision, I think if it's all about the product, it's all about the supply chain, it's all about making sure your machinery is working fine. I think if you treat your kind of whole environment as a living organism, and you're looking at kind of how that product gets from being made to kind of the consumer, I think you're fine. I think when you add in, okay, am I going to be recognizing people and facial recognition and things like that? Am I doing biometrics? That's when I think you've got to kind of worry about. If you're looking at behavior within the warehouse and you're going to kind of try and control people to do stuff, that's when they've got to kind of be careful. So there's different levels as you see, and I think as long as they've got then understanding the risk profile when you talk to people and their data and their behavior is different to kind of how you optimize the product and kind of quality.
Is there a big opportunity right now in that area then, in that optimizing the people within using a lot of these tools?
Yeah, so we're actually working on kind of Gen AI and companions and looking at
fantastic project.
And looking at how do we get the right person in the right place doing the right thing. And it's not about checking on what they're doing. It's all about taking the mundane tasks and the repetitive tasks off them, so that they're doing the more value add. So, for example, we've had conversations with customers where they've optimized a process, but then they're still not talking to the customer, and that customer experience is bad. So they go, well, we want to optimize it, but then allow our associates to be able to talk to the customer. So the customer experience is good. The associate is actually doing work that they actually enjoy. So you attract and retain staff, and you get good customer experience. So it's making sure that balance is in place there.
Check all the boxes. Yeah. It's an interesting point because there are so many different facets, from the efficiency to the satisfaction of both customer and employee, retaining employees in such a volatile job market in automotive right now. When you're building solutions, obviously the Gen AI is something that's quite promising and it's an exciting project. When you're building for the future, are you thinking about all those elements? Are you targeting one specific and you hope it bleeds to the other?
No, so our kind of vision and strategy, so we're building what we're calling enablers. And we want to focus on device first, but then back it off to cloud if we need to, because of the processing power that we need. And we've kind of built an AI suite that's actually got released in January that sits on our mobile devices. And that's for computer vision. We're bringing in generative AI onto there. And then towards the end of the year, we're bringing out a platform so that our partners, ISVs and customers can actually fine-tune these models themselves. And for us, it's like building ingredients. And you go, well, what's my use case? Here's the different ingredients I want to pull together to be able to do that use case. Because what we see, as you see in POCs, it's like, well, I actually don't know where I want to get to. I just want to try and play with it first. Right. Now, in the old days, to do that, it'd take you 6 months to get there, with a lot of highly paid engineers and researchers and kind of the NVIDIA servers that you need. So, for example, we bought one 12 months ago for $140,000 just for one kind of server. And we've got like the equivalent to 6. Now they just brought out the next generation of those, so I want to sell those and get the next one. So it's very expensive. So what we're trying to do is have it so that these ingredients can be pulled together by any engineer, by any software engineer, pulled onto the device, put the business rules around it and try it out. So you talk in days, maybe a week to kind of get this up and running, taking an environment, let's test it. Okay, it's not 100%, but it gives you the idea. You get to talk to the customer and is it working? Do we see the benefit here? And then you iterate on that. So it's all about maturing that pipeline so that anybody can use it.
And do you feel like that's the future of how we get the most efficiency, getting that real-time feedback rather than build it, test it, fix it, test it, instead be able to have that real-time interaction with everyone? That's where we're at right now.
That's where we're getting to. And I think ChatGPT, actually, the benefit that also brought for our industry was that a lot of capital went into the investment of these machine learning operations, ML ops, DevOps. And it was all about maturing those tools to actually get it into the hands of people, because they're spending a lot of money, billions, and they need to get the return on investment. So how do we get that maturity of those real-time kind of feedback loops in place? So that's where I've seen the benefit, and it's just going to accelerate.
Whether your biggest goal is increasing actionable visibility, augmenting and empowering a productive workforce, or optimizing quality and traceability, Zebra has what you need to advance in your journey and transform everywhere from the plant floor to the warehouse and across the supply chain. Because the connected factory is where innovation and productivity finally meet. And Zebra is ready to help you get there.
And I think the impact you see immediately from those real-time feedback loops, because of the technology you have, it develops a better holistic solution that checks the boxes for many people, whereas perhaps in the past it was the builder who envisioned, this is what I want to help, and it was very one-dimensional, versus now it's sort of creating that holistic solution more naturally.
Correct. And the other thing that I like about kind of the solutions we're doing is, okay, we're talking about AI now, but for me, AI is just one of the tools. We've also got other sensors. So you've got obviously the barcode, you've got RFID, but then also on the devices, you've got the GPS, or you've got the motion detectors, etc. So how do you combine all those things together so you get a more contextual awareness of where you are, what you're doing, how's it working, and the interfaces that you can do on top of that is, so for us, we did a project where you're looking at a kind of, well, what are the hands doing? So if I'm picking something up, I'll recognize that box. Oh, there's a barcode on there. I'll read the barcode. Oh, there's text on there. I'll use the OCR to kind of read that. Or there's an RFID, so I can detect everything on that pallet that's got the RFID on there. So it's knowing the real-time asset visibility. It's knowing what the person is doing and behavior. And it's also, well, actually, I know this person's only been here 6 weeks and I know their skill set. So I'm either going to give them a bigger instruction set of how to do it, or I'm going to give you a different task because I know there's somebody else down there that can do that task in there. And kind of combining all that together is what's going to be really driving that productivity gain.
So it's really like the humanistic approach, that logic, and building that into a lot of these solutions so you can deliver the right application for the right situation. And have that, oh, let's scan that just happens to be there, versus rather than it not being built to do. So I think that's quite cool.
It's exactly that, yeah. So I'm doing one job, but because I've got the camera on, I can see all these other things, and there could be missing stock, or there's somebody in the wrong place doing the wrong thing, or there's a box in front of the fire exit and things like that. So cool. I'll send a task off. Can you come and just move that box? Those sorts of things. So yeah, it's helping drive that ecosystem.
Oh, that's so cool. I never would have, that's really interesting you brought that up, but it's so true, because we are limited by our eyesight.
Yep.
Humans have limitations physically, and when we're doing a task, we often get, tunnel vision on that task. We don't see around us. So that's a very unique skill, and some have it, but to have camera-enabled tools around us and devices that can use AI and use machine learning algorithms to help to create that full aspect, we then miss less.
Exactly.
Creates a safer, more efficient.
Yeah. And for me, it's helping the company actually understand, well, I know what's important for what people should be doing, but if they don't do it, your revenues are going down or your profit margins are going down. So again, it's all about understanding, well, what's important for the company, what's important for the associate and the human being, to kind of make sure that they're not doing repetitive tasks, boring tasks. And it's that combination. So it's a win-win for kind of the company and the person.
Huge win. Mm-hmm. So I know that you and the Zebra team are obviously working on an incredible amount of technologies, and speaking with a few of your colleagues, obviously you're very much on the forefront of what the industry is, not only what you're doing, but what the industry is doing. The impact you have, I think, is quite substantial and impactful, which is really, really cool. What are some of those promising AI applications that you see on the horizon, be it within your organization? I know there's very limited things you can speak about, and there's probably a lot of locked doors the further down the hallway I go. What you can speak about to what you're working on, what you see in the industry, those AI applications that you're excited to be seen, and ones that are going to have a significant effect on the market.
Where do I start?
That's a good start on its own. And what are you allowed to say?
Yeah. So generative AI, I do think is a game changer.
Yeah, I loved seeing that one come out. That was a really great to see.
I do think, though, that we're in a hype cycle with it.
Okay. Sure.
I do think there's a lot of money going into it. Everybody thinks it's going to solve everything. I just see it as the next step. So, as I said, I've been in AI for over 10 years now. Before we saw all the new research coming out, you'd get a step change probably every 6 to 9 months, kind of that's really big. With ChatGPT coming out, or the LLMs, now with all the money and the research going into it, I'm seeing that come down to like within weeks, different kind of papers coming out that are making an impact. I think it's changed the way the interface kind of works. So, for example, everybody wanted Siri and Alexa to be this personal assistant that would do it. That
was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah. Didn't really work out because the technology wasn't there. I do think now that, Alexa's relaunched, hasn't it, with LLMs in there. I know Siri's been delayed. So the delay in Siri is kind of interesting to me, because it's like, well, actually, if Apple can't get it right, let's have a look at the industry of where we are. So I think where I see the bubble is everybody's expecting too much too quickly.
Okay. Going back to expectations.
Their expectations. So the Gartner hype cycle, as you see there, I think we are at the top of the kind of the hype. But saying that, I do think that the interface now and for example, the real-time translation, so Whisper AI, we've got that working on device. So for us in the industry, during holiday periods, they bring in they double their staff. And they might be non-English speaking, for example, in the UK or the US, so Spanish. And the ability to communicate in their own language about kind of the instructions of how to kind of train them up or interface with other people, I think that's going to be a game changer, because you can kind of converse a lot quicker. Gen AI, as I said, is one step. I think the one that I'm looking forward to, as I said, are these new world models, whereby the models understanding the physics and what things are going to be doing, and to put that into context when you're in the manufacturing and you understand what the robot is doing with the person and kind of with the product that's going up and down there. I think you'll see some more productivity gains coming in there. With kind of the AI and having a personal assistant, for me, I think that's going to be a game changer, because it's
what you're capable of. Again, we're getting rid of those mundane tasks so your brain can do what it should be. Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of a game changer. So it does mean that I'm more productive. I'm enjoying my job more. The company's getting kind of productivity gains, but also getting revenue and profit margins up because you're doing the right things. What else do I see? I do see we've got Fetch Robotics, for example, and kind of what we're doing there. And with the industry, with the humanoid robots, I do think that's kind of, again, with the capital that's going into that is increasing. So looking at kind of the interaction between humans and robotics and the automation there, I do think that's going to be exciting to kind of see where we go there. And then just the rate of pace.
That's exciting on its own.
Yeah, because, I know what I'm excited about now, but next week there might be something else coming out, and keeping up with that. So, I've just been presenting at our partner summits, and I do think one of the benefits of Zebra is that I've got about 90 people just working on kind of this innovation, and looking at all these papers, looking at the models, looking at what's the best ones for our industry. And whereas the hyperscalers want a model that does everything for everybody, we're really focused on, okay, how can we make it better in the automotive industry? And we'll really focus down on that environment and kind of pull it together so that our customers and our partners don't have to do that.
Sure.
So just distilling it down into those things are exciting.
There's something that you had mentioned earlier, and it kind of just came full circle in my mind a little bit. You mentioned the managing expectations within. With all these topics you just mentioned and the hype cycle, how do you manage external expectations, the expectations of customers, the expectations of the public? Because you build a tool, it gets excited. But then we look at this Siri and Alexa example where everyone thought it was going to be this huge game changer, kind of failed and fizzled out a little bit. But that's based on expectations set. So how do you, as a builder of these solutions and this technology, manage those? Is it come back to education?
It is education, and it's also being honest about them. So, for example, we just had our sales kickoff is in January, and my boss Tom Bianculli came to us in November 2024 with Project Astra from Google. So that's their Gemini LLM, and it's a multimodal thing, and they just released it to us in November. And he says, I want a demo to go on stage with this LLM with a wearable camera that I can then interact with and do it. So we managed to get something up, and I've got a great video that I kind of show at the partner summits now, because it is very powerful. But the honesty is it was very scripted. It was a very controlled environment. I can see the vision of where we want to get to and how we want to get there, but it's 2 years off, 3 years off.
So you're being realistic about those milestones.
Yes, yeah. So a lot of people go, well, it's marketing and they can do all of these things. So, for example, we've used some of the models, multimodal models, where you can do the vision, and we put on a shelf and said, right, tell us the price of the Coca-Colas there. Now, there's no price there, but it told us a price because that model's trained on more data and it understands what the cost is from another data source, and it just tells us. So it hallucinates. So again, it's being more realistic that yes, they will eventually get there, but it's not they're ready for production yet. So we can get people excited about, okay, well, where this is going and with the industry. So I do have to be careful because we do innovation, and I want that. So after that case, I had salespeople coming up. I want to show it to customers. I want to sell it. Like, you cannot. We're 2 years off at least on kind of that. So it's the education of understanding what's possible now and then what's possible in the future, and making sure that that's very clear.
A clear, transparent gap that is communicated and told effectively rather than dreams and hopes, I suppose.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's kind of I think that's a really nice takeaway as well, to be honest, because I think a lot of people do the opposite.
Yeah.
They promise and over-deliver, and then it fails and fizzles. And I think that's why we see some hype cycles bigger than others.
And that's where we're doing on our companion. So we do have some lighthouse customers that we're working with. We've been very open with them, saying, well, look, we are testing it with you. It's a co-development. We want to understand the limits of these with you. Because we do have a long list of other customers say, I want to get in on that. It's like, well, let us do 2 or 3 first, understand the limitations, because then we can better set your expectations. So
Fantastic. Lastly, for those listening, for those watching that are looking to bring a lot of these solutions, these AI tools, from an idea to a pilot to a commercially viable, scalable solution that hits the market, what is your lessons learned? What is your kind of top advice for those companies going through those steps?
First of all, it's to work with a partner that is capable of doing this. So if you want something to get to market, talk to a couple of partners, understand what they've done in the past, and actually really dig into, okay, well, what was it like to get from start to finish? How long did it take you to do? What's the expectations? And understanding kind of the steps that it takes. So first of all, data. Have you got the data? Is your data clean? Have you cleaned your room significantly enough so that we can work with that data? Do they have experience in that sort of industry? Because we have a lot of people that are generous, that can do. They say they can do everything for everybody, but then they've never worked in the automotive industry.
Which is very different for every industry.
It is, yeah. So what's the problems there? And then it's also understanding, well, what can you do on the hardware that you're doing as well? Because is it going to cost a lot of money? Are you going to cost a lot of money to do this? Is it on the cloud? Is it on device, on the server? And there's a lot of different, TPUs, MPUs, GPUs, CPUs, all of those sorts of things. So you've got to understand that. So I actually have a lot of conversations with startups and other companies going, right, well, we can optimize this model for anywhere. And then you dig into them, and it's like, well, when have you done that? How have you done that? And actually they can't. They're just using other technology to do it. So it's understanding the partners that you're working with, how they've done it before, and what is the process they take it through. And you need to know that, okay, your first cut, you can get to 80% accuracy. That's the easy part. It's then the next 20% if you want to get to 100% or 99% kind of accuracy that you've got to understand that. That's going to take a bit longer. But if you put the effort in, that then generalizes across all the other environments that you do. And obviously you're laughing all the way to the bank because the value it's going to drive is going to be huge compared to your competitors.
Absolutely. So it really build that baseline, bring the right people, bring the right partners, but have realistic expectations as well. Correct. Down that line. And don't overpromise your team, because then your team, I guess you also lose. There's a whole other aspect. If you overpromise, the team gets overexcited and then it's prolonged and people kind of burn out a little bit as well. So I think internally that whole cycle, I think that's a really nice set of advice. Listen, Stuart, this has been... I've learned a ton. I love this conversation. I could keep it going for forever, but I know you have lots going on, so I won't take too much of your time. But listen, thank you for this. This has been great. Before we sign off, any final words from your point?
No, well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's been great. As you can hear, I could talk about this for hours.
Absolutely. So, It's clear. I love when there's a truly passionate about a topic, and this is something you've excelled in your whole career, and to be able to sit down with you today is fantastic. So again, thank you for having me. Thanks for being part of this, and wish you guys the best rest of the year.
No, thank you, Mark, and thank you.
And for everyone watching and listening to this episode of the Auto Tech Show, thank you for being with us. Hopefully lots for you to take away as well. Some great insights from Stuart on what's going on here at Zebra and in the market in general. So please, if you have any comments or you have questions about what you heard today, head down to the podcast notes, resources and links for you to read up on and get in touch with us directly. Please feel free. And again, lots to take away and absorb from today. So please do check out those resources. With that, we'll bring this episode to a close. Very special thank you again for being part of this with Zebra, and more episodes coming down the pipe with them. So look for those in the coming days and weeks, but we'll leave it there. Everyone have a fantastic day wherever in the world you may be. We'll see you on another episode of the Auto Tech Show very soon. Bye for now. Once again, this episode of the Auto Tech Show was sponsored by Zebra Technologies, connecting you with the edge, where the future is boundless. Learn more at zebra.com. Thank you.